Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Elena, name is Harriet, and Happy New Year's, guys! We are continuing on with the makeup inventory, and like I said in my last video, this will be a eyeshadow palette inventory, and this is of course inspired by Kate's collection over at Instagram, and this is her 12 days of inventory challenge project that I am following. So let's get right into it. Here I go, my eyeshadow collection, and as you can see, not everything does fit into the camera, but I will push everything forward. So I have a lot of different brands when it comes to my eyeshadow collection, and I think I'm just gonna start off with what's on top, and that is from Meca, which is the Norwegian brand I keep talking about. And this is their astrology planner. They usually release like a limited edition palette with 12 different eyeshadow shades, and this was from 2020, and this was the first ever makeup product I bought from the brand as well. So as you can see right here, I have used up a lot of different shades, and I only got 4 left, which are 2 mattes and then 2 shimmers. So let me do a quick swatch. Here are the shimmers, and they're quite metallic, and these were the shimmers I was using in my intro today, and I was also using this matte mauve shade right here. It's not super pigmented, but it's an okay type of pigment, and it works great for everyday work situations. And then this black is super not pigmented at all. But yeah, these are the shades I have left, and I did declutter this Gemini shade, which was a gold, and I decluttered it in the beginning of 2024 because it was itching my eyes and it felt a little bit expired, so that was that. But yeah, these are the shades I have left in this palette, and I will be keeping this, and I will also try to use everything up. Next up from the same brand is this Fab 4 eyeshadow quad, and this is in number 2, I suppose. And as you can see, I have a small little pan in this white shade, I have a neutral brown, a little bit darker brown, and then this gold shadow shimmer that isn't super gold on the eyes or when swatched, but it's great for everyday use, or it's a great travel palette as well. And I do use this eyeshadow palette a lot when there's like events and I have people over, like my family. I usually use this on them. I used this for my grandma last year during New Year's, so I will be keeping this one as well. Then I have another one of these limited editions makeup or eyeshadow palettes from Meca, and this is in the Diary Memories, and in here I have all of these shades, and there is, I wouldn't say it's missing, I'm gonna say that I used this one up, and it was a horrible white shimmery, very powdery shimmery color that I forced myself to use up, and I did, so we're done with that. But in here you can see I have a lot of different other shades. I have a lot of neutrals, some pinks. This can, if I mix these two, it can look peachy, a pinky white shimmer, a gold, and then a blue and a silver. And this silver I can use as a highlighter as well. And this blue shimmer was the reason I bought the palette in the first place, but it was a bit lackluster than I expected. I mean, it's still pretty, but it wasn't really what I expected when I saw the swatches online. But I like the shimmer, and I like this white pink shimmer as well. These two are my favorites, I believe. Another shade I really like in this palette is this shade called Friends, and it's this pinky toned shadow. And like I said, it goes pink, but if you mix these two, it can apply peachy. We'll also be keeping this palette. So the last palette from Meca is this one called Donut Bakery, and as you can see, this is a great autumn type of palette. I really like the shade Berry. It was the first shade I also hit pan in the palette, and it's just a really gorgeous color, a little bit burgundy red almost. And then I have this shade Toffee, which is a gorgeous mustard yellow that I like to pair with the shade Berry. I really like this shimmer shade Ginger Sprinkles. It's like a fiery red shimmer They're really, I mean, if you look at these shades together, they look pretty amazing. The other shimmer that I also love from this palette is the shade Caramelized. And it's a chunky type of formula, these shimmers, but they really look so pretty once it's on the eyes. And another shadow that I really like is this matte called Chili Chocolate. I really like the shade because it's like a warm toned brown that is a little bit deeper, and I just find that these shades, all of these together, look really amazing on the eyes. So I would really like to hit pan on this shade and maybe hit pan on both of these two as well. And these two are super cool tone. The brown one compared to Chili Chocolate, I mean, if you see this difference, very cool toned. And then we got the black. It's okay pigmented, not super, but it's better pigmented than the first Zodiac palette that I swatched for you. I'm gonna be keeping this, and I definitely plan on hitting pan on these three on the sides. So next up I will move on to my Odin's Eye palette, and I only have one, which is this Elva eyeshadow palette, and this is the Elva number 1. And these are the shades from this palette, and I haven't really used it that much, but do you see the shift of that? Like these two shimmer shades and the shift. So let me do a quick swatch for you guys of my favorite shades. Starting up, it's with Golden Tulipa. Then we got Carnation, Baby's Breath, and when you swatch these, they're a soft formula. As you can see, there's quite a difference between Golden Tulipa and the other two, but the other two are very similar to each other. You can't really tell what the difference is, except for the shade names. So next up is the shade Lilac, and I don't know if you, it's a lilac shimmer shade. It's very, very gorgeous, but it isn't super pigmented, as you can see from the swatch right here. And then Dandelion has sort of like a shift to it. It's like purple, but with a little bit of blue in there. So as you can see, there is a little bit of blue in there, but not super visible, but it's a very pretty shifty pink color. So up next, I also have this shade Dahlia, I mean, and it kind of looks a little bit similar to maybe Lilac. I don't know, let's see. No, not really. I mean, in form of it being not super pigmented, I guess it's similar to Lilac in that sense, but it's a more pink than that. I really, really like this shade Cherry Blossom. So such a deep shimmer shade. And then this one, Sunflower. When you first start applying these shades, they're a bit different than the other shimmers, as these are a bit more metallic, so you can see, and a little bit more pigmented as well. But yeah, I really, really like these shimmer shadows from Odin's Eye. And the favorite mattes that I have in here are this Morning Glory, and I really like the shade Daisy as well. So these are the swatches, and I would definitely be keeping this palette, and I really hope I can use this one a bit more during this coming year, or this year. So next up is this ColourPop eyeshadow palette, and this is in Sweet Talk, and I bought this actually secondhand. So I didn't really buy it first hand. I bought it second hand, basically. And I have used the pink shades mostly in this palette. I have also used this one. The shades there are like untouched, or these, this one, that one, this one, and then these two at the top. But the rest I have used a little bit more frequently. And the shades that I really, really love with this palette is this matte one right here, and it's called Eyeshadow, and it's such a gorgeous peach kind of pink toned shadow. Then I also really liked this shade called Melody, and this is a shifty peachy pink type of shimmer. I mean, can you see that? It's super stunning. I also really like the shade called Garden Date, and this is a pink shimmer. So the first shimmer that I swatched is more peachy, and then this one is just pure pink. And the last shade that I really, really love from this palette is this one called Side to Side, and gives sort of like a wet type of look or feeling when you apply it on the eyes, and it's a bit Vaseline like of a texture, but it's such a stunning shadow. It kind of reminds me of like the Urban Decay Space Cowboy, I think that shade is called, but this is a bit more pink than that one. But yeah, I really like this shade, and I will definitely be keeping this palette. Then I have this Linda Hallberg Spectral palette that I have already shown on this on this channel once before, and that was on the Colorful Smoky Eye eyeshadow looks that I created for you guys. And from that video, I did say that I strongly dislike this color, I believe. And that is still the case, although I did hit pan on it, but it was more of like a hate pan because I wanted to see how deep it was, like if the shimmers are as deep as the mattes are. Also, since that video, I think you can see that I did hit pans on these two shades as well as this orange shimmer that I talked to you guys about. And then there's a little bit of a dip in here in this Eerie Lilac shade, and I did use this Abstract and then the Faint sometimes, and I have only still swatched this shadow. But the shadows that I like the most in this palette is this one, Phantom, although it's very powdery, but I really like it. I find it really pretty. And then I also like the shade Eerie, although it's very hard pressed in this palette for some reason. And I also like this shade called Abstract, and this shimmer. This blue shimmer is truly gorgeous. It's one of my favorites from the palette. And then the green shimmer called Faint is also a very pretty shimmer. But either ways, I will be keeping this palette, even though some of the shadows I would say are trash and not worth the price paying for when you buy the palette. But I like the shades that I like, and the rest I don't. So I will be keeping this one, but when I finish the shades I like, I will most likely declutter the shades that I don't like, and I will probably not use the shades that I don't like, which are this orange one and then this purple one, because it applies so patchy, and I have so many better dark purples than this formula in here, so I rather use them than this one. Next up is this one from Mad Beauty, and this is their Mulan palette, and there's 18 shades in here. But I will tell you, I did declutter some of the shades. The shades that I actually finished are these two, and they were light beige white colors. This one was a light brown, but I mixed it together with a pink that I put in this little pan over here. I did declutter this very hot pink matte, and also this very hot pink shimmer that I wasn't using and I didn't like, but did hit pan on the matte first before decluttering it. I am gonna declutter a few more shades from this palette as well. I will declutter this black one because it's very lackluster. And I will also declutter this pink one because I think I only need one pink from this palette, and I'm fine with that, with decluttering the other one. It's also not super pigmented. It's cute, it's fine in that sense, but I don't use pinks that much. And the next shade is this bronze shimmer one. This one is actually very pretty. It's just that I don't find any use for it, and I have better shadows and shimmer formulas in my collection that look alike with this color, that I rather use that than keep using this. But I'm not gonna declutter these in that sort of sense. I'm gonna trash them. I'm gonna put them in another palette, and I will be showing you guys that in a bit. Okay, so next up are the brands that I have one or several of, and I am gonna start off with, I think, the Beauty Bay palettes, as they're quite large. I only have these two palettes, and it's the Midnight and then there's the New Mood one. And Midnight I bought in 2022, I believe. Yeah, 2022, and it came together with the beauty box that I had bought and I did a haul on, which was also my first YouTube video. How time have passed. But yeah, this is the palette that came together in that beauty box, and I have only used it just a few times since I bought it, but I really like this shimmer shade. It's, oh wow, it's like, it's super pretty. It's sort of like a blue purpley type of look. I also really like this purple shimmer called Electric right here, because have you, like, the pigmentation on these are absolutely insane. It's like not something I have never seen before in like my drugstore eyeshadow palettes. And the mattes in here are also truly gorgeous. Like, for example, this called Iris. It's so pigmented, it's so pretty. I mean, look at that. Because like this shimmer and then the matte doesn't look alike either, which is also so nice. And I also have some good pastels in here, like this shade called Mist. It's such a pretty pastel shadow. And then I also got the shades Tranquil and then Catch. And Catch is so pretty as well. It's very good pastel type of shadows. And I really like Beauty Base Formula. They're very good. They're great for like if you have oily skin and oily eyes as well. They work great for that because they're quite dry on the eyes, but not in a bad way, like in a really, really good way. So yeah, I really like the shadows, and even though I haven't used it that much, I definitely want to do that. I want to finish some of my eyeshadow singles that look similar to these. Let me show you guys. Had some loose shimmer shadows or eyeshadow singles that are in this type of color scheme as this Beauty Bay palette. So I do hope to finish this shade Lollipop, like I said in my last video, and then I can move on to this palette. Then we have this New Mood palette, and this has to be one of my favorite palettes I have ever owned, I believe. This is a 20 eyeshadow color palette, or shadow palette. And there's so many different shades. Like you have the neutrals, you have some spark of greens, blue, yellow, pink, you know, and then you have like some duochromes as well, like this shade called Free. It's a white pink based duochrome, and it's so pretty, and this pigmentation is amazing. And then you also have this other white shade that is called Serene, and it has a blue shift to it as well. And then my favorite multichrome shade in here is this one called Euphoric, and I don't know if you can really see, but like it has this gold bronze shifty and then it turns to green. Yeah, it's such a truly amazing shimmer. So yeah, on this shift, it's green, it's bronze, it's gold, who knows what color more it is, but it's really, really a pretty color, and I really like all of the shadows on here. But yeah, this will be a for sure keep. Okay, so here is all of my smaller palettes, and I am gonna start off with the NYX ones. So I have these mini ones, and then I got this midi one, and this palette, this Ultimate Taupe palette, and it has 16 shades, and this palette is also one of my favorites. And the shades that I really, really like in this shadow is this green shimmer. It has a very light base. I really like this blue shimmer as well, also a very light base to it, but they're very pretty once applied on the eyes, and they look very shimmery or metallic sometimes as well. They're very cute. I also like this pink peach type of shimmer as well. Then the mattes in here are very, very pretty. I'm not really that much into cool tones, and the shades that are cool toned in this palette is this light teal shade. This one is okay because this shadow in here is a bit more darker than this one. Another cool tone shade is this gray one that I haven't been using a lot. These two look very pretty swatched, by the way, but I try to use them more, but I have to kind of force myself in a way. But this teal shade is very pretty swatched, but on myself it looks kind of, it turns gray somehow. So I am trying to pan this one. As you can see, it has quite the nice little dip in here. I am also trying to pan this pink shadow. It's pretty for a pink shadow, but I have better pinks. I really like this palette and I would like to hit some more pans. Next up are these mini ones, and I have this one is in warm neutrals, and I bought it in January last year, and I have used it only once or twice maybe, but they have very pretty shimmers, only 2 shimmers, and the rest are mattes, and this is kind of, they aren't super pigmented, they're very pretty, and this one kind of looked like the Mulan bronze shade that I swatched for you guys earlier. But I will be keeping this one. I am also going to be keeping this one, which is a mini to the Ultimate Utopia. And although I already have these shades in this palette, I don't know, it has a sentimental value to me, so I just can't get rid of it. And it's also sometimes great because if I'm going traveling abroad, this can be a little bit big, so I'd rather have like this smaller one. And then I also could bring this one together with this one, and then I have the perfect little mix of neutrals and colorful. So I will be keeping all of my NYX ones. Lastly are my shadows from, I have Natasha Denona, I have Maybelline, and then I have Makeup Revolution, and I'm gonna start off with Drugstore, and that is the Makeup Revolution ones, and then Maybelline. And this is from I Heart Revolution, and this is the I Am Limitless palette. Really like this palette. I don't use it enough, but these shimmers are so gorgeous. This one is a bit glittery, but can you see that? Wow, they're very pretty, and they swatch beautifully as well. They look very pretty on the eyes. So I really like these shimmers. I also really like these mattes because some of them are a little bit a mixture of pastel with more pigment than more pastels usually have. This lilac was a bit lackluster actually when I swatched it. Let me do it again. Yeah, okay. So yeah, not all of these shadows are super pigmented as I hope them to be, but some are very pretty. And actually this blue eyeshadow I am wearing as my, what's it called? Like my profile picture here on YouTube. That's the blue eyeshadow I'm using. So yeah, they're very pigmented and I really like them. And these 2 shades they're okay. I did use them a little bit during, I think it was December last year. This yellow shade called Be the Light is it's not a gold, it's a yellow shimmer. This silver is very pretty, and I really like to pair it up with these type of purple or blue type of tones. And then we have, for some reason, a shadow that I don't understand why it's in here. Like everything is like blue or purple, or you know, keeps with the tone, looks like with the palette as well. But then there's this brown shade out of nowhere, and I don't understand why it's in there. And it's pretty, but I just don't use it very much because I don't find it how does it relate to all the shades that go upwards from that point. So I would definitely be keeping this palette. Then we got this other I Heart Revolution palette, and this is the Dr. Seuss Green Eggs and a Ham, and they did like a Dr. Seuss inspired collection. And I received this from my sister during one of my birthdays. I don't remember which one it was. But this palette has such great little shimmers in here, like duochrome shimmers. Like for example, this looks like a brown. You see that? It looks like a brown in a palette, but when you actually swatch it, it's a green. And it's such a gorgeous little palette, let me tell you. And this one also looks like a brown in the palette, but as you can see swatched, it's a gold. So a lot of these shadows are like duochrome. They don't look like there are duochromes, but compared to the palette and then to the swatched, it's sort of like a type of what happened there type of thing. And this shade right here, that actually looks like a green one, it's so pretty. I really like this one. It's like a lime green type of shimmer. And then the last shimmer then is this white one. Such a neutral shadow. It's also very stunning. And I really like the formula of these shadow shimmers they have from I Heart Revolution, or at least from this collection line. And then I have this orange, this yellow, and then the brown one. But the shimmers are what you want to buy for, because they are truly gorgeous and breathtaking in my opinion. And it also holds a sentimental value to me, so I will be keeping this one. Next up are these from Maybelline, and these are the only palettes that I actually will declutter for my whole collection. Like, so far this video hasn't been a declutter video, it has truly been a makeup inventory video, but I am gonna declutter these shadows, and the reason for that is because I just find that I have better type of shadow formulas in my other palettes that I rather keep than in these ones. But what I will do though is I will take out the shades from both of these palettes that I really like and that I didn't find a dupe for, and I will remove them and then take some other shadows from my collection or other singles from my collection, and then I will put them in here. So the shades, let me tell you, the shades that I am gonna keep is this yellow one, because I couldn't find a dupe for it, and then this orange bronze one, I also couldn't find a dupe for it in my collection, and they are just such a pretty metallic shades that I just really like to keep them in my collection. But the rest that are in here, like this beige one, this pink tone glitter shimmer, and then these other tones, they are cool toned and I don't like them on me, like these brown ones. So that is why I'm only keeping these two shadows, but I'm gonna leave all of the rest in here. I will repress this one though, because I'm gonna give this one away to my cousins, and I think they would rather appreciate have a palette that looks a bit untouched than have a pan in there. So I'm gonna repress this shade, and then I'm gonna repress some other shadows in their place. And I'm also gonna keep some shades in here, but in this shadow I'm gonna also keep a little bit more. Like, I have this very gorgeous shimmery mauve type of tone. I really like this shimmer, and then I also got this pink beige one that is so stunning. I also got this mauve, and I really like to keep it. It's a bit more warm toned than you would expect. And then this white shade, I don't have many white shades in my collection, so that is why I like to keep this white shade. So I will keep some shadows and then declutter the rest, or not declutter, but I'm gonna repress them and then give it away to my cousin. And then we are left with my Natasha Denona ones, and I have the shade, or I have the mini retro and I have the mini gold. So starting off with the mini retro palette, I have actually used it quite a lot. As you can see, there's quite a dip in here, but it doesn't really show. Like, I know that hitting pan on Natasha Denona palettes or on those more high-end brands can be quite hard. Neutral color, I don't know what type of color it is, but it's very neutral and it works great with any look you have. And then there's this pink shimmer that is such a cute shadow, but I feel like I have this pink shimmer already in the ColourPop palette. Then same here, this is also a shade. ColourPop one kind of dupes this one, but the Natasha Denona formula is so much better than the ColourPop one, let me just say that. But they kind of dupe each other in form of the way that it looks, kind of wet looks it gives on the eyes. But I really like this. And then we have this shade that I haven't used quite a lot of, and it's a green silvery type of shimmer, but it's very pretty and I just have to use it a lot more. But I will definitely be keeping this palette. And next up we have this mini gold one, and this is such a gorgeous little palette. I think that this shade in here kind of dupe this darker brown one that I have in Maybelline, and I much rather keep the Natasha Denona one. Here is this little brown one, and then we have this gold green type of shifty shadow as well, or I mean it's more gold, but sometimes it looks green when swatched. And then here's this green shimmer, and this one, it's truly one of my favorites, and I just will forever like this shadow. So that's all of the shimmers from the Natasha Denona palette, and the matte that I like the most from this palette is this green one. In my opinions, there are no question to be asked. These were expensive little palettes, and I will definitely be keeping both of these ones. So in total I have 19 palettes, or like at the beginning of this inventory I had 19 palettes, but with decluttering these two palettes from Maybelline I will be left with 17 palettes, and hopefully once I finish these 4 shadows that I have left in here in the soda palette, I will be left then with 16 eyeshadow palettes, and I think that is a good number. I love eyeshadow palettes, so I don't know if I want to reduce the number even further. And I mean, there's always like a few more palettes that I would like to buy. For example, more of the Natasha Denona palettes, or that dragon-eyed palette from What's Up Beauty, and some more from Beauty Bay. So there's definitely more eyeshadow palettes that I want to buy, but right now I am quite happy with the ones I have. And what I will say though is like the shades that I'm gonna replace and like put it in these two palettes, let me show them like real quick. So these are the shadows and the singles and even a highlighter that I will be putting into these palettes. So let me show you what I had thought in mind. So I have this shade, I have this one, and then like the brown ones that I will be keeping in the palette. So it would be sort of like this. And then the shades that I thought that could fit into this little palette when I remove like the yellow and then the orange is the like a black matte one, because as so far it doesn't have any mattes in this particular palette, and this is so lackluster, but that is sort of why I'm also like giving this shade away. I will completely remove this shade from this palette, and then I will also take a little bit of this brown matte one, because 2 mattes I think are good enough. So that's one palette, and as you can see it's sort of like a neutral palette compared to how it looks like right now. It's more of a warm tone type of palette, so I want it to be a bit more neutral. Then with this other palette, this mauve one, I am gonna be keeping this purple and this other shimmer silver one. So we have the silver here on top, then we got this purple one, and then the direction that I am gonna go with this palette is a little bit more colorful. So I have this metallic-y kind of purple in here from this single that I am also gonna put on the palette. So it's like a mauve and then a purple, like it was from the beginning, except that I liked this color much better than this one. Then I have this pink shade that I am also gonna be decluttering as well, so you know it's kind of following this color scheme. And then I have this red highlighter, which is a shimmer I'm gonna put in there. Looks good. And then lastly is this bronzer shimmer that I will also be adding to this mini palette. So as you can see, the shadow will look completely different than it looks right now, and the only pop of color really is this bronze shadow, and the rest is sort of like more of cool toned shadows. But I am okay with that because I don't really like cool tone shadows on me. That is my plan, and I am left with 17 eyeshadow palettes, but I started with 19. Okay, so that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and a quick little mention, because we did hit 100 followers this year, which is insane, and I want to thank everyone who is following me and have been supporting me from day one and from whatever day you followed me on my channel. And yeah, thank you so much, and I will see you on the next one. Goodbye!